Popoff here. Welcome back to another edition of Reliving. Old Reviews is a useless tool of confusion here on the Contrarians. These are just short clips where we look at an old review and see if the reviewer got it right on an album that turned out to be a classic sort of thing. So today we've got this is just a short one, won't take us very long. We've got a review of Black Sabbath Sabotage from Rolling Stone by Billy Altman. So let's take a read of this and see what we think here. Okay, so Billy says, Sabotage is not only Black Sabbath's best record since Paranoid, it might be their best ever. So that's pretty interesting. I actually believe it is their best record ever. It is. I've often called it my favorite album of all time, but this is pretty cool to see Rolling Stone saying this. Even with the usual themes of death, destruction, and mental silliness running throughout this album, the unleashed frenzy and raw energy they've returned to here comes like a breath of fresh air. So, yeah, I believe this is a heavier album than Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. That has kind of a gauzy miasma of a sound to it. I remember getting this, or actually a buddy of mine got it first. So this was the Sabbath album he bought, and we all sat around and listened to it. And I remember just finding all the negative parts of it and not thinking it was that heavy because of Am I Going Insane and Super Czar and that kind of stuff. But yeah, Billy's correctly, realizing that there's a lot of incredibly heavy riffs on here. And, comes like a breath of fresh air. I suppose it is kind of fresh, airy feeling compared to Sabbath Bloody as well. He also says, a symptom of the universe rambles on an atonal riff-based crusher, then shifts for a coda of lightly paced acoustic jamming. Megalomania is an inversion of that, erupting into a hard rocker with a hummable chorus before it's slammed home in a quake of phasing and feedback. That's a pretty cool idea. I've never really thought about that, how they are an inversion of each other. So Symptom of the Universe starts super heavy and then goes into this crazy, weird, what are they doing sort of jam. It's kind of the spirit of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. And Megalomania, as he correctly points out, starts out, albatross, I don't know. For some reason, I think of the whole albatross story when I think of the beginning of this, right? So it just starts off very laconic and quiet and then gets heavier. And then he mentions the phasing and feedback. For diversion, there's Super Czar, which features an English chamber choir chanting off an off-time splurge of guitar phrases. That's a neat way of putting that, a splurge of guitar phrases. Black Sabbath loyalists will no doubt love this record, and those who've never bothered may even want to indulge. So that's cool. We get a complete recommendation of this album by the end of it. I don't know. I don't know if it's should be your entry point into Black Sabbath. I think it would scare a lot of people away. That whole entry point thing always bothers me, or recommend me an album kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely not a very immediate album. It's pretty proggy and strange with long songs and a lot of different parts and stuff. I mean, if you're just going to check out Sabbath for the first time, I would start with the likes of maybe Master of Reality or Paranoid, or maybe even something even later like Heaven and Hell, right? I mean, because a lot of people, a lot of younger people consider this old Aussie era Black Sabbath just too weird for them and not particularly heavy metal or anything like that. So there you go. That's from Rolling Stone. What is it there? September 25th, 1975, I believe it says there. And that has been another edition of Reliving Old Reviews as a useless tool of confusion. Thanks.